And so if you have a page, you put this higher order component on, and what's really cool is it passes this function called initiate login protection. And so a good example of that is, so here, for example, if you have a button, you basically just wrap the on-click action with initiate login protection. And this says, if everything is good, then show the modal increase payout. And so this is really cool. It's just like one little line of code, and all those modals will like pop up before it even shows them the increased payout. And so if they're on the wrong network and we change their network, then that modal goes away. Success, modal shows. It's beautiful. The other one is another hook that we do is initiate walkthrough. So what you saw is in those in that series of transactions, first it like warns them you're about to have a transaction, and the next modal says the transaction is we're waiting for it to be signed. It's in that loading state, and then it says success and shows a notification. All that's managed through a higher order component as well. You just call this initiate walkthrough, and we use sagas. So our sagas just like basically click it up to that next modal. We have these repeated functions. So this has made things really, really clean. So felt like I would share that. But overall, so go back into presentation here. So overall, yeah. So building the other thing that's been important for us is empowering people to be able to launch their own marketplaces. Like you don't need to use our front end. You don't need to use but most likely you'll want to use our APIs, and you'll want to use our contract functions. And so what we've done is we've built a set of Redux actions and behaviors in your app. So you can call the contract functions without having to think about Web3. You can check balances, all these things. And it updates to one place and integrates with our open APIs. And the idea is if you start basically your own minimalized version of a Explorer, let's say any type of marketplace that you're working on, you just have to update those core libraries, and it keeps it really, really, really simple. And so that's kind of been our goal to empower that, which has been cool. So other thing that we've had to think about is Kubernetes auto deployments of new verticals. So we have Berlin, Bounties Networks, SF, a bunch of different ones that we've been doing, design, site, that we're launching, a bunch of other ones that are using all these core behind-the-scene components of these marketplaces, marketplace libraries that we've been using. And so what's cool is we can launch a new site in 5 minutes now. So just boom, push it up, and then anyone who manages that code can diverge it. They can make it look different. They can, you have a marketplace. It's very beautiful. I think this is interesting. I don't know how relevant this is in general, but I find this very, very fascinating, so I figured I'd share it. So we had to start thinking about so if you guys have done React development, maybe you've used server-side rendering, maybe you've used Next or other libraries, or maybe you've plugged in your own server-side rendering. But the reason why typically you want to have server-side rendering is Google needs to scrape you, DuckDuckGo, whatever. Any of these search engines need to be able to see your site. And unfortunately, if you have a React front-end application that's rendering on the front end and doesn't have server-side rendering, it's not giving you that markup ahead of time. Google can read it. It's iffy. It's questionable. Other than Google and Baidu reads React applications as well. But still, it's super iffy. Other than those, none of the others do. And so it's building it so the search engine can actually find your React application, right? It's super important. And so what we actually did is we store our application in S3, and it's served up via CloudFront, so CDN. We're completely client-side application. We decided not to do server-side rendering because we didn't want to. We wanted to keep our code simple. We didn't want to complexify it. We also didn't want to be tied into something like Next or one of these server-side rendering frameworks. So what we do is at the CloudFront layer, we use a Lambda function that detects if there's a bot. And if there's a bot, we send them to this other service that we're going to build ourselves, but it's called pre-render. and that goes to any of our pages and takes a snapshot of the rendered version and gives it to a bot immediately. So that way we don't have to worry about like building the application to be server-side rendered. This has worked really well. All applications index us now and are able to like see us, which is beautiful. And it also like serves it up to them extremely quickly, which is good. So anytime there's an event in our contract, we literally just like, we ping and we refill that cache that pre-render has, which is really cool. If you are using IPFS API, by the way, and you have like a React application, you're breaking Google. Google can't even scrape you, so just FYI, because it's a very common component of dApps. IPFS Mini is okay, so you can use that, but just don't use, so the problem is IPFS API has a few, like they're not transpiling fully down to ES5, and they have a ton of sub-libraries and some components that are not doing the same thing. Google and most of these providers are running ahead. So Google runs a headless Chrome. It's like version 41, which can't like read a couple of the ES6 behaviors. And so you have to deal with that. One thing is we make it so you can share. So if you post on Twitter, Facebook, this is Slack, we give like we enrich it, and so it shows a screenshot of the page and gives you more info. The way that we did that was we have a serverless bot that we created that just takes screenshots of everything anytime there's a change. And that page that's rendered, you just have a meta tag that has the image. And the meta image tag these bots like Slack bot, Twitter bot, all of them know. And so now they have this beautiful image to do, Facebook bot to do this, which is really cool. We do sitemap updates and ping Google on every event so they know that like anything new has been posted. If you're doing a React application, this is your friend. Make sure that you're not breaking Google. If you are, this will let you know because this fetches Google. But forward-looking, some things that we're doing, which I think is really interesting. So there's been a lot of active development on identity and meta-transaction work. There's actually been a pretty cool council that's working on this. We have one engineer who's been extremely involved in these efforts. And so it's about how do you have a dApp that you can manage your identity on your native application, your desktop application, and not have your users paying you gas. And so we're exploring that, and we've been involved with a lot of those discussions, which has been really cool because I would say maybe, I don't know how much time, but soon the industry is going to kind of come to this standard, which is going to be beautiful, and I'm looking forward to. Just making it easier so people understand how to launch their own marketplace site. That's really important for us, all these open source tools that we've been building. We're also now working on like the API being able to involve like fraud on demand, like if you're building a marketplace and you're plugging into our APIs, you can check fraud detection, pricing, estimations, work allocation on the fly, which is super interesting as well. That was a very, very quick overview of all like the different pieces and components that it takes that we've seen and through our conversations to build like production level dApp with reusable and open source components. Does anyone have questions?